Welcome to Break the Cycle with Bethany Dotson, the podcast for high-achieving professional women who struggle with codependency, attracting emotionally unavailable partners, and who repeat dysfunctional patterns in love. I'm your host, Bethany Dotson, and if you want to learn more about how to break your cycle in love, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and be the first to know when a new episode drops. I'll see you inside. Good morning, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about how to start thriving and really living your life and falling in love with your own life versus just existing after a potentially narcissistic partner, an ex, after divorce. Really how to get out of that muck that I see a lot of women get into and then stay in. So here in Break the Cycle, we tend to work with people who are in two camps. They're like just out of a relationship. They're a few weeks out, they're a few months out, or people who've been out of it for years, but are still stuck. And so I really want to speak to you if you have been out for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 8 years or longer, and you're just existing in your life. And what I often find happens is that a lot of women stayed so busy and so preoccupied emotionally and mentally and physically, and many times financially in the relationship, that they get out of that relationship and then they just transfer all of that preoccupation into something else. They will stay chronically busy in their work. They might have a toxic work environment. They might stay chronically busy helping an underachieving friend or helping friends who have issues or helping their kids who now have issues, and they continue to lose themselves. So I want to talk about how to stop doing that. And before we get into the solution, I want to make a few key points. And I want to really drive this first point home in that the primary reason why you find yourself just existing and not really living in your life is because on some level, chaos, drama feels comfortable for you, and comfortable for you specifically meaning comfortable for your nervous system, comfortable for your body, comfortable for your emotional state. When you are in relationships where you're constantly questioning yourself, you see the red flags and then you override them, that creates a sense of excitement. It creates a sense of dangerousness. When you are in those types of relationships where you're not sure when the next shoe is going to drop and you're constantly questioning yourself, your body gets trained to feel those unsettling feelings, to feel that anxiety, to feel that chaos, to feel when's the next fight going to happen? Are we going to break up? To live in that state of kind of being on the edge as your normal state of being. Chaos becomes normal. And a lot of people don't fully realize this, right? It becomes so normal that you're not even aware that it's happening. You might even feel victimized because you get out of that relationship and then work is really hard, or you keep getting toxic coworkers, or you keep meeting the same type of boss. So it can actually feel like life is against you, when what's really going on is that on an unconscious level, subconsciously, you're more comfortable with that level of chaos in your life than you are with being relaxed and being in a receptive mode. And again, I see this a lot in clients who they're successful in other areas of their life, but when they're not in a relationship per se, they are often very hard on themselves internally. They're often perfectionists. They feel like, they have an all or nothing mentality. I have to perform well at my job and my career, or I'm a bad employee. I'm a bad boss. I'm a bad business owner. And so they get into this dichotomy where they're really hard on themselves when they're not in a relationship, or they stay chronically busy. They start a lot of projects at home. They take on extra projects at work. And so this is all because on some level, her nervous system is more comfortable with that level of anxiety and that level of dealing with chaos and that level of kind of putting out fires all the time than she is feeling calm and feeling relaxed and feeling and a sense of peace and feeling a sense of acceptance with her life and trusting that everything is going to be okay if she's doing less. So chaos becomes your norm on a subconscious level. And when you have this patterning, what often happens is that you unconsciously, meaning you're not waking up in the morning and telling yourself, I'm going to go out and meet another emotionally unavailable person. You're not waking up in the morning telling yourself, I'm going to go out and get a promotion and get into a new department at work. And then I'm going to get another narcissistic boss. Those things, you don't go out and consciously seek those things. They just happen. It shows up in your life because somewhere within you, your nervous system, your emotional state is more comfortable with those things, with those scenarios. It's familiar for you, or subconsciously you've got belief systems in place due to unhealed trauma that are causing you to recreate those scenarios in your life. You're unconsciously drawing those things in, you're unconsciously manufacturing those scenarios. And a lot of people have a hard time with this. I made a post recently that ruffled a few tail feathers. A lot of people have a hard time accepting that they are a part of that dynamic. And I certainly was this way as well when I was first embarking on my healing journey. I felt that all of my exes were assholes. I felt that my parents had really did me a grave injustice in raising me. I felt I kept getting into all of these unfair situations, and it felt good for me to point the finger everywhere else and blame everybody else. And blame is a normal emotion. We all feel that emotion as human beings. But it wasn't until I started working with a trauma therapist who had the guts to tell me, hey, it's not everybody else. It's you. You got to look at yourself. And so when you find yourself feeling stuck, when you find yourself existing in your life, and maybe you have the lifestyle that other people might envy, maybe you have a great career, maybe you have all the discs in your life spinning relatively well. Somebody walking by you at the grocery store wouldn't look at you and think that you've got a problem attracting abusive partners. 90% of the time, it's because that chaos feels right to you. That chaos feels comfortable. It feels more like you're living in some strange way when you are in unhealthy relationships that produce a sense of anxiety, that produce a sense of uncertainty, when you're in job environments that you're walking on eggshells and you're not really sure. That feels, in many ways, for a lot of people, more comfortable than actually getting their needs met. And a lot of people are more afraid unconsciously of getting their needs met because on some level that may create a greater risk of abandonment or rejection. And most of the women that I work with have often deep rooted programming, deep fears centered around abandonment or rejection because they felt abandoned or rejected at some point in their life, whether it was from a parent or a caregiver or an ex-partner. So the first and primary point that I want to make is that if you're just existing and you're not thriving, and it's been a while since your ex or your marriage, your relationship, and you're doing all the right things, understand that your nervous system and your subconscious programming may still be set to chaos is normal, right? And again, this is not something that you're going to wake up every morning and decide that you're going to get into some toxic job situation or you're going to start dating another emotionally unavailable guy. You have good intentions consciously, but under the surface, subconsciously, and still moving around in your body and in your nervous system, chaos is going to feel more normal for you. And if that is the case, you are going to unconsciously recreate and regenerate those scenarios in your life. And in my opinion, you're doing that as those things keep appearing in your life as a way to show you that, hey, what's going on within me? The things that you attract in your life, the partners that you attract in your life, you may not agree with this, are really a mirror. Everything that you're attracting in your life is a mirror to your own psychology. So if you can look at that and choose to see that as, oh, hey, and get curious, not beat yourself up about it, you can then start to change and transform that pattern. So that's the first point that I wanted to make for you. When chaos also feels familiar to you, what might also happen is that you're going to ignore red flags. You're going to ignore your intuition. You're going to ignore your body signals. And I work a lot with women. All of my clients, mostly all the women that I talk to on the phone about working together, have a pervasive pattern of ignoring their intuition. And this can happen from childhood trauma, it can happen from adult relational trauma. They sense their intuition, they feel their chest tightening, they feel their stomach contracting, they feel their jaw tightening when they're in a relationship scenario, when they're in a conversation with an ex or with a partner or with a boss. And yet they sense that contraction, but instead of slowing down and listening to that, what often happens is that they people please and put the other person ahead of themselves. And so this is can be a very subtle pattern. People pleasing, it's a trauma response. It's a way that you're trying to get your needs met in relationship. But if that's one of the ways that you move through your life, this is one of the big reasons why you are now, even if you're out of the relationship, existing, but not truly thriving. Because every time you override your intuition, you are expending energy, you're expending emotional resources within yourself. And it's like you're siphoning off that energy and kind of dumping it on the ground, or siphoning off your emotional home and just keeping yourself tethered or nailed down to the ground, and you're not really going anywhere. So people pleasing is another way that you could be, as another possibility, another possible reason why you're just treading water in your life and you're not really getting anywhere. And when you people please and you get into unfulfilling situations again and again in your life, whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships, work environments, you often then make up a meaning about yourself. And I see this very often with clients, right? We get into coaching calls together, and they come to the call with a challenge that they're trying to work through and that they're trying to overcome. And almost always, almost 100% of the time, the block that is preventing them from overcoming that challenge and getting to the other side is that they have created a story, a negative meaning about themselves. If I set a boundary, this means something negative about myself. If I do this, then it means something negative about myself. And as I tell my clients, your beliefs are going to be the number one thing that's going to hold you back from changing your life. I talk to so many women on the phone, and I would say a good 90% of them want a healthy relationship. They want to make 10 or 20K a month in their career or in their business that they're wanting to start. They want to do these things, but they don't believe it's possible because they haven't experienced it yet, or because they've had so much turmoil in previous years, previous lives, possibly in years past. So they don't believe it's possible for them. And if you don't believe a great relationship is possible for you, if you believe that you're too old, if you believe that your options are limited, if you believe that all men are assholes, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to continue to produce and co-create in your life. So people pleasing, not believing things are possible for you is another possible reason why you may find yourself years out of a relationship. You're just still existing in your life, but you're not really thriving and living. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, this just came to me, if that's you, right? If you really should be happy. You should be happy, right? You've got a great career, you've got a great lifestyle, but deep down inside, you don't feel happy. You don't feel all the way happy. What often happens for people is that they try to satisfy that hole with something outside in their lives. And I see this a lot with women who get out of relationships or get out of long-term marriages, go off and date within the first few months of being free from that relationship. And because they still feel incomplete on the inside, they're still in a state of lack. And again, they're not always fully conscious of this. They think they're doing the right thing. They go out and they get into more lacking relationships because their belief system and their mindset is still set to lack, still set to, I don't feel complete, still set to, something's wrong with me, still set to, time is running out for me, I'm getting too old, my options are limited. And if you approach dating or relationships or anything in your life from that mindset, you are going to co-create more results that equal that belief system. So that's the other thing that I wanted to point out. So the last and final point that I wanted to make is, if you find, and all of these things really stack on each other, right? It all goes back to the first point, which is chaos and drama and not getting your needs met probably feels more comfortable for you than being trusting, relaxing, being receptive, allowing people into your world, allowing people into your life, and getting your needs met, and meeting more success and internal satisfaction. That probably feels a little bit more foreign. It's in the unknown for you. You might not have experienced it before. So the other thing that you need to keep in mind, if you are just existing in your life and you're not thriving, you're not wildly in love with your own life, you don't feel like you don't feel like you're dialed in with your purpose, is that you need to overcome your own habit of abusing yourself. I created a post recently that ruffled some tail feathers, and I said the worst abuser isn't really your ex, it's yourself. It's your own, the voice in your own mind, your own self-talk. And there's a great quote from Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote a book called The Four Agreements. He also wrote a book called The Mastery of Love. He is an author, speaker, a spiritual teacher from the Toltec tradition. Toltec was an ancient Indian tribe in South America. But he said that nobody will abuse you more than you abuse yourself. More than you abuse yourself. Nobody will abuse you more than you abuse yourself. And you will stay in relationships that are abusive just until the abuse gets more abusive than how you were abusing yourself. And I find a lot of women who, and this was myself, right? I'm not immune to this myself, who I work with or I speak to on the phone. Their self-talk is, and this is something that you might not even be fully aware of because you do it all the time. It becomes an unconscious habit. You're not even fully aware of it. And this is why coaching can be so valuable, because you have somebody to hold that mirror up to you and help you close the gaps that you're unconsciously creating. But your self-talk and the way that you talk about yourself and the way that the things that you believe about yourself are very often the things that keep you stuck. The things that stop you from dating again, the things that stop you from opening your heart, the things that stop you from being vulnerable around friends who you secretly feel like are judging you. The self-talk is the thing the negative, abusive self-talk is the thing that keeps you stuck in that pattern of existing and not truly thriving and living, being more comfortable with chaos, people pleasing, having a really negative inner critic, the own abuser in your mind. These are all byproducts of trauma and relational trauma. You don't have to have a car accident. You don't have to get into a robbery. You don't have to experience a hurricane like we just had here in Florida to have trauma. 86% of trauma in adults happens in the walls of a relationship. So how do you stop existing and really start thriving? First and foremost, you need to use very highly suggested trauma-informed methods of healing your psychology, healing your mindset, rewiring your brain. Trauma wires your brain differently. Trauma wires your nervous system differently. When you have unhealed trauma, you're going to tend to be more prone to unhealthy risk-taking behavior, anxiety, overthinking things, overanalyzing things. You're going to be more prone to having a negative inner self-dialogue, self-talk. When you use a trauma-informed method, the focus is not about reanalyzing your past or dredging up the past or talking about the past or venting about how abusive your ex was. These things can feel validating, but research shows that the more you stay stuck in your past, the more you recycle the past stories, the more it just anchors the same programming, the wiring in your brain from the traumatic incidents. So if you using something like somatic therapy, which is what we use here, mind body therapy, things like breath work, things like guided meditations, things like movement, noticing where you feel things in your body, things like body scans. These are practices that you can do anywhere and regulate your nervous system, start to rewire your brain and your body out of chaos. Chaos feels comfortable for me, and into trusting myself is the new norm. I feel whole and complete is the new norm. Calm is the new norm. It feels safe for me to allow people into my life and open myself up and open my heart again. That becomes your new norm. And then it's not quite enough just to do those things. While those things are fantastic and produce great results for our clients, you have to then bring that with you into your life. And this is where things like therapy are great. Things like researching the narcissist can be helpful in the beginning. Books can be super helpful, but many times people don't ultimately take that knowledge with them into their life where the rubber meets the road. And so you have to take the things that you're doing to rewire your brain and your body, your nervous system, and then get out of your comfort zone in your life and step outside of yourself. Put yourself into situations. One of the things that we do here with clients is we have them take themselves on a date, and not just, I'm going to go take myself to a Netflix and put on my favorite sweatpants date. No, get themselves dressed up, make a reservation at a nice restaurant, go on a date like they're going to meet their soulmate, but they're dating themselves. So this exercise for many people brings up a lot of fear because they have a lot of meanings about, oh, what if people think I'm weird? What if people feel sorry for me? Am I going to feel lonely? And so this is a good way of stretching their comfort zone because it gives them a chance to show up differently in that moment and to use the programs, the tools, the processes in their toolbox to make different choices in those moments. So, using a trauma informed method, being consistent with that, and then consistently getting out of your comfort zone, making more empowering choices in your life and in your relationships is what produces long term transformation. And listen, if this was easy, there would be no need for coaching. There would really be no need for therapy. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of women who've been in therapy for many years, and they still feel like they're just existing. They still feel like they're just going through the motions in their life. They don't feel like they're thriving. They don't feel like they're truly living after a toxic relationship. And we all like the comfort zone to a certain extent. I think it's been shown in research, like in neuroscience, your brain likes the comfort zone, especially if you have trauma. The world feels like an unsafe place. People feel unsafe. You don't feel safe with yourself. You're not sure if you can trust yourself anymore. So it's really imperative to have that outside support, that mentorship, that guidance, that coaching to guide you past the walls and the barbed wire fences and the fire breathing dragons and the steel walls that you put up around your heart. Because while those things may keep you safe, it also keeps you stuck in that trauma programming. So, just to quickly recap how to stop existing and just feel like you're treading water in your life after a narcissistic partner and really start thriving and fall wildly in love with your own life, you have to overcome your addiction to chaos and drama. You have to stop people pleasing, and often people pleasing is a close cousin to codependency, caretaking other people. You have to stop beating yourself up on the inside and heal the own internal abuser in your own psychology. And you need to be using a trauma informed method to do that, one that doesn't keep you talking about the past or keeps you venting about bad situations week after week. And you need to be stepping out of your comfort zone, and you need to be doing all of that consistently. The key word here is consistently. So if you are single, if you're professional, if you've got your ish together in your life, and the one area of your life that you continuously fail in, you keep meeting the same type of person over and over again, is your love life, and you want help in breaking that cycle. It doesn't matter if you're 40, 50, 60, even 70, and you want to learn how to trust yourself again. You realize that life is short and that you in many ways are standing in your own way, and you want help overcoming your fear, your trauma, your codependency, then go to bethany.dotson.com bethanydotsn.com/talk. Book a free call. We will have a very honest conversation with you about your patterns, what's going on. We're going to do a deep dive and analyze that for a minute. Then we're going to get very clear on what you want, which is probably something that you don't spend a lot of time or emotional energy on. We're going to get you very clear on what you really want, not just the safe goals that, oh, I just want to do this, but like what you really want, right? Stretching the container of what you feel is possible. And if during that conversation I feel confident that I can help you overcome your trauma, your codependency, the stuff that's keeping you locked in a container of I'm just existing, my life feels blah, then we'll talk about what it looks like to work together. And if at the same time during that conversation, I'm not sure that coaching would be the best fit for you, I'm going to steer you in the direction that is going to be helpful for you, given the stage of your healing journey that you're on in this moment. So again, that's bethanydotsn.com/talk. That call is for you if you're single, you're professional, you're career driven, you more or less have your ish together in your life. You've probably done some therapy. You're not hoping to work it out with your ex. And even though you probably don't want to fully admit it, that you are the common denominator in your love life and you need to heal and overcome and do the deep inner work within yourself to be congruent for a healthy relationship. I will talk to you all very soon and have a great day. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. A brand new episode drops each week. Be sure to click and subscribe. And remember, healing trauma, codependency, and your lifelong pattern in love does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance and evidence-based methods. And I've helped hundreds of incredible women from all over the country heal betrayal trauma and reclaim their confidence while falling wildly in love with their own lives and attracting healthy relationships. If you like what you heard today and you want to see if you're fit to work with us, go to bethanydotsn.com/talk. That's bethanydotsn.com/talk and book a call to speak with us today. We'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. The real reason you keep attracting dysfunctional relationships, even if you know better or even if you've done tons of work on yourself. What you really want in a relationship, how you want to feel emotionally every single day in your life, and what lifestyle changes you want to make. And then number 3, the exact strategy you need to be using to get there. Again, healing trust issues, codependency, and a lifelong pattern does not happen without expert guidance. We've helped hundreds of women across the country heal complex trauma, codependency, and have the healthiest relationships ever, both with themselves and with others. Go to bethanydotsn.com/talk to book your call today. I'll see you on the next episode.